Hi, it's Robert Mendelson, Fractional CMO here in beautiful Montreal, welcoming you to another episode of the Fractional Pros Canada podcast. We're part of Fractional Pros Canada, the home for Canada's fractional community, and you can find us on Facebook. We bring you conversations about everything fractional that matters for fractional executives and businesses from coast to coast. Think of this as your go-to spot for real talk, practical wisdom, and strategies you can actually use, all without the corporate fluff and with plenty of Canadian content. Whether you're a fractional pro or a business in our great country of Canada and beyond, this conversation is for you. Grab your espresso and let's dive in. Welcome to the Fractional Pros Canada podcast. I'm your host and fractional CMO, Robert Mendelson, here in beautiful Montreal. And joining us today, a very special returning guest, actually the first ever guest, I believe, on the Fractional Pros podcast. We say a return welcome to Nicole Donnelly. She is an authority in the AI space, and she is in her home base of Vancouver. Ex-pro snowboarder and AI adoption specialist. Today's Fractional Pros Canada podcast is powered by Your CMO, the proven framework for fractional CMOs. Learn more at yorcmo.com, yourcmo.com. Nicole, welcome back to the pod.
Thank you for having me again. Nice to be here.
Well, so much has changed. I think the last time we got together here was probably in February. So now we're here in July. So in the world of AI, that's a few decades have gone by, I guess. So
Yes.
I remember when we first talked last time around, the topic that we were talking about, among others, was the double-edged sword of AI for fractionals, and how, on the one hand, it was gonna help fractionals with being more efficient, more productive, and all that fun stuff. On the other hand, it was a threat to fractionals because all of a sudden, business owners had this belief that they didn't need fractionals or outside help anymore, and they could just rely on the AI to do it all. So I'm sure that
Yeah.
hasn't changed that much. What are you seeing out there?
Well, I would say that the demand for fractionals should increase. And it should increase because the fractionals are the ones, like, we've got years of experience that nobody else has in our areas of expertise. And AI can't provide that discernment. And the fractionals are the ones who can bring change into an organization and lead some of those charges in AI. We've been working on a whole new agency blueprint of what an org chart looks like, putting AI into the org chart. And that's where I think fractionals can bring a lot of value, is because you have that senior experience overseeing what transformation is going to happen. And that's why every fractional needs to be very AI'd at this point, because your team underneath you is going to consist of AI agents and humans, and fractionals need to know how and when to choose to use AI for something and use agents, and suggest building agents for different tasks, and when humans should be in the loop for the different processes that you look at. We have broken our process down, our onboarding, into 20 steps of client onboarding, all the way to completion and reporting. And every step has SOPs, multiple SOPs. And we had to look at this whole experience that our customers would have with us and decide, okay, which of these are going to be human all the time? And these particular parts are going to be human all the time. Which parts are we going to be able to use AI and automation in, that it doesn't matter if there's a human involved? And there's some places where you could put AI and automation, but we choose to have a human in that piece as well.
Okay, so the visual I have in my head of your org chart that you might, help a client, develop that includes AI, is there's going to be some boxes where it's still just person. There's no AI around that. And there's other boxes where it's going to be person and AI agent, or maybe multiple AI agents who are, augmenting the person with some other roles that can be defined with different agents. And then there's boxes that are literally half and half person, but now with agent. Is that kind of how it's looking?
Yeah, it is. And when we look at the whole 20-step process, for us, there are about three places where we really want humans. And there's a place where we do an intake form and we could have AI read it, give us a summary, but that's a place where I consistently choose to put a human in that spot. And I could use AI in automation, but I'm going to choose to use a human in that. But out of the 20 steps, there are maybe three that involve humans now.
Are those three pretty much consistent roles?
But it can be the same person for those steps. It's just like looking at the workflow, we just want to choose to have humans in a point where we review somebody's surveys, like that they send to their employees. We want a person to look at it. So we can have AI summarize it, but still, if I'm looking at those surveys, I use my discernment and I can pick things out of it that AI wouldn't pick out as important to the client.
Wow, and that's an interesting phrase that you just said right there, because the phrase we hear more often these days is AI can pick out things that humans can't see. So you're kind of reminding us that, yeah, that might be true, but let's not forget it is also still true that we can pick out things that AI is not going to call out because they just don't have the same expertise that we do. And we have to remember at the end of the day, AI is just guessing what the next word should be. It's
Hmm.
not actual logic in the same way that we have it and experience.
Yeah. And they won't understand the context. AI doesn't understand the whole context. And if I look at a survey of how an organization is using AI, and I know that at that organization, they don't have a company chat GPT account, but all these people are putting chat GPT as tools they're using, they're probably using not paid or they're using their personal accounts. And I need to address that in the strategy and how I talk to the company or the leaders in the company about the situation that's going inside of their organization, because I can see that, and based on just what I know about what they're doing. And so there are just some of those things that the context that AI just doesn't have the context for. And I would still send those survey results to AI and ask for a summary. And I would ask it for insights because it might get things that I don't get.
What would you say is the most significant change or development on the AI front in the last few months that professionals, whether we're fractionals, whether it's client side, really need to be aware of, really need to be looking at right now?
Well, the whole agent conversation has been picking up steam like crazy. Um, and there is a new job title coming out, and it's AI systems admin. And we need to have AI systems strategists too, to help build. But, you know, last year was supposed to be Year of the Agents. Well, this year really is Year of the Agents. Everybody's building them, talking about Zapier, Make, N8N. And if you don't know what those are, you need to look into it, because those are the platforms that you're going to use to build the AI agents that are going to be part of your team. And it's important to know how those are constructed, what's possible, what's not possible. You don't need to know how to build them, but you need to know how to define the process of how to build them. And so, whatever your domain expertise is, we had a CMO in our class, and he could see from his perspective the things that he wanted to automate. He's not going to be the one building these AI automation workflows. There's somebody else on the team to do that, but he knows now how to define it. And he knows how he knows that he needs to give it instructions at different points and how to give it instructions that the person technically building it can build what he wants to get. So every fractional needs to know in their domain what workflows are possible, what are common, and you can start to Google these. We have a workflow and SOP creator that's a custom GPT, and I'll leave you with that link too. It's a place to get started in defining workflows. But I think every fractional needs to be informed of how AI and agents will play into the org chart, into the, the work that they're going to control.
Great. We'll include that in the show notes. And that's, you've kind of answered my next question already. I was going to ask, what are the one or two essential AI tools that every fractional pro should have in their personal toolkit right now to improve their own efficiency and deliverables? Obviously, part of the answer is understanding agents, if not being able to build them yourself, at least understand what goes into building them. At your CMO, we've started these sessions called AI Boot Camp. We're just wrapping up the first one, and all the CMOs, or at least a good portion of us, spent the last few weeks getting our hands dirty and actually building AI agents and workflows using N8N and all the
Okay.
tools that go around with it. So we're not going to become experts on it, but we at least we understand what the process is to do it. And now we've got an internal team we're building of people who are just going to focus on building agents, and that's all they're going to do. So
Yeah. Every company is going to have hundreds or thousands of agents. It's the direction that it's going, and there have to be people to maintain it. So we're creating a class in partnership with an organization in the UAE to train more the AI systems admins. And because this is something every organization's going to need one, whether you need it fractional or full time, you'll probably need the strategist fractional, but you'll need an admin most likely full time once you have everything set up. And it could be a fractional one too, but it's a role that every company is going to need to engage at some level, is that AI systems admin. Because once you understand how things are built, you also understand what the weaknesses are. And just like a website where you would have plugins and a webmaster would go in once a month and update plugins and things like that, your AI systems admin is going to be the person to do those updates. Because if a model updates and it has the same instructions, its answers might be different. And we've seen that. We have a newsletter, and it's a 26-step SOP. And with that newsletter, we gave it all to AI. And AI writes a newsletter. It's in my voice. And I put the human in the process, though. Like, I still read over the newsletter and sign off on it, put my opinions in it, because AI is still not going to put the same opinions that I would have. And all of a sudden, the format of the newsletter changed, because one of the AI models changed. Our instructions didn't change, but we had to alter our instructions because the model changed. And that lasted 6 months, but some things, the next month there'd be an update, because if we had just built it the month before, we'd have to make sure that we then adjust our instructions. So you've got to have somebody who you can trust to maintain that as well. So I think for somebody to put in your back pocket is that AI systems admin that you could reliably bring into a company, or have a few of those that you could refer in to back you up when you're, creating agents. And when you have that directive inside of a company, you want to have that tech support too.
yeah, you need to have somebody there doing QA testing every week or so to make sure that the prompts you designed a month or 2 or 6 months ago are still producing the output that you wanted originally.
Yeah.
Interesting. Current favorite AI tools that you're using every day.
Yep.
What's on the list? What are the top, I don't know, top five?
Okay, Fixer. I don't know if we talked about this before, but Fixer, Fyxer, and I'll give you the link to the resources page so you'll have all of these too. Um, and Fixer is in my inbox. It organizes my emails, it tags them, and it tells me which ones I need to respond to. And it even writes the responses for me. And it writes it in my voice. I learned that because I have said awesome in so many prior emails. It put that into too many emails. So I have changed the way that I write because it reflected it back to me. But I love Fixer, and it has brought my inbox so much peace. And so I don't feel as overwhelmed when I go in there now. And it does so it does the responses. It'll do an affirmative and a negative if appropriate, and it will also do scheduling. So it's integrated into my calendar, and it suggests times in its response that come from my calendar as available. Now, it's not 100% accurate on times yet, so that is a thing where I'll double check and make sure that the times are accurate, but it's getting there. And I have tried Superhuman, I've tried all these other inbox tools, and nothing was as just turnkey, easy, and effective as Fixer has been. And so I could rave about that one because it's completely transformed my relationship to email.
And just to double click on that for a second. So does it automatically send out replies, or does it kind of get them ready for you and then you have to approve them?
It gets them ready, and then I approve them. Yeah, I wouldn't want anything to auto send. Not yet. You can do that. for sure. You can do that, but I don't.
All right. So that's one. Fixer. What else?
Um, I mean, I'm still using Claude, ChatGPT, and Gemini all the time. For conversations, I can go into my ChatGPT and let you know the my most recent things: cheapest business class flights to Vietnam, um, AI summit details, an AP invoice workflow, inhaler comparisons. It's like this mix of personal and business, client agreement violation check, AI certification program outline, an argument for having a naturalist up at Grouse Mountain, my forum update, because I have an agent that has my forum. It asks me the questions to do my forum update. And even looking up the wire code for Bank of America, because there's several different codes depending on foreign money or domestic, whatever. Anyways, those are some of my queries, conversations that I've been having. And I just always think of like how AI could help me with this. And if I don't get what I like from one, I'll go to another. Or there's certain things like when we're doing a whole project plan, we'll use Claude because it's nicer, it's more robust, it's more human feeling sounding. It's aligned on pricing and projects and SOWs. Um, and Gemini still is the one for research and heavy lifting when you need to have a really big context window. Um,
Yeah. I've been using Gemini Pro the most consistently for the last 2, 3 months. Before that I was using Claude, and somewhere I decided to try Pro, and I haven't looked back. And
yeah.
it is it doesn't cease to amaze me. Last night, I'm going on a flight to South America with my son in a few days. So we're doing some last minute flight bookings. Last night, I spent literally an hour and a half trying to book a couple flights with some airlines, local airlines in Brazil and Argentina, and I was just not able to complete the transaction on a few different ones. And I was going back and forth with Gemini because, I'm like, hey, has this problem happened before? What are some workarounds? And it would tell me. I'd try them. I'd tell it didn't work, back and forth. And after 90 minutes, literally, I go to it. I'm like, okay, I've now tried 10 times, literally. I'm really frustrated. You know what it said to me?
But
It said, wow, you must be so frustrated. Look, you've been at this for a couple hours. I know it's very late in Montreal. It's true. It was about midnight. And I think you should just call it a night, close your laptop, go to bed, start again
no,
tomorrow, and maybe call the airline. It was as if I was talking to my mom or something. I was like, wow, that is so human. It blew me away, just that kind of response and
that's
kind of
so
awareness
funny.
of really exactly how I was feeling. And that was the kind of advice, like I said, my mom would give me. It was like, wow.
That is so funny.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah. Um,
So yeah, Gemini Pro has been mine, and yeah, and its deep research again doesn't cease to amaze me.
mhm.
And I've been using Manus more and more too. That thing is just, I get as much fun and learning out of it watching it build stuff with all the steps and watching it code as I do with the final results. It's insane. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I've been playing with Replit and I made a whole platform on Replit. And if I were a coder, I kind of wish I was a coder because then I could get through some of the hurdles that I'm having easier. But I don't know that language to be able to make suggestions of how to fix things that aren't working in there. So I've definitely reached some of my technical limitations on that. And if a coder is using those tools, I mean, even more powerful.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. A developer, somebody who has developing background, engineering background, is able to kind of that last mile sometimes where it gets
Yeah.
stuck, they can figure that out pretty fast. You and me we're a bit of still struggling on that one. Yeah.
I know I have to ask it in 10 different ways. I'm like, it's still not working. Here's a screenshot of the error code.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Are there any AI tools that you think businesses today must be using? Or is the
Yes.
answer, yeah, go ahead. What do you think?
Well, Every business needs to choose a note taker. Read.ai is my favorite note taker for a number of reasons. It gives sentiment analysis. It does coaching on speaking for people too. And since we teach a lot of classes, that's great. If you needed sales coaching, you can do that too. There are some sales coaching specific note takers, but everybody should have a note taker and get used to using it. And also think about how else you can use those notes. Because I had a meeting with somebody, with Jamie Mann, and Jamie's a public speaker, and we were talking about what a good AI and automation workflow would be to help her, like some of the workflows she could use in speaking engagements and follow up after engagements, things like that. And our conversation was so good. I said, well, can I use these notes and make a blog post and mention you and tag you and make social media posts? She's like, yeah, of course you can. So in this meeting that we had that could have been a discovery call, it turns into content. It turns into, like all of this other stuff. And she was super happy about it because then her name is out there more in relation to this conversation too. And so thinking about how you use your notes, because we have hours and hours of meetings, you can use the notes to improve onboarding. You can use it for your FAQs. You can use it to train your bots on your website to answer questions. There are so many uses for notes, and a lot of people just have notes and don't ever go back to them. And we use our notes in project planning. We have even a naming convention in meetings so that if we name a meeting a certain thing, then we know that those notes get tagged to that client and are in our CRM, and the summary of the notes go into the notes section in the CRM system. And it also puts them into a specific piece in the pipeline. And so thinking about how all of these things work together, I think is really important. And the tools that you choose, it's like, just think about how thoroughly and deeply you can use them. We don't need 100 different tools, but you need to use a handful really well. And this is what we ask ourselves all the time. How can I deliver more magic? How can I deliver more value to clients faster and like have it take less of my time? And we consistently ask this every Wednesday. We look at workflow improvements and how we're not leveraging what we could. And our read notes is a thing that we have been working to leverage more lately. And really, because we want to harvest all of that information in there and use the data that we're collecting. And so I try to make blog posts out of meetings quite often, because if we're having conversation, I'm answering your questions. I mean, this will turn into a blog post for you, but I could have Hoop listening in the background and also be taking notes and have a blog post for myself out of this conversation, or a little post of like, hey, and take a screenshot and here's what we're talking about today. I think there's just a lot of different ways that people don't think about using it. And so whatever your role is, to think about all the other areas of the business that these tools touch. And for us, Read goes into project management, to creation and marketing, and even like customer notes, sales, and, sales pipeline tracking, all of that information. So I think using the tools deeply is important.
Yeah, and that's really adds so much more value to the typical, meeting that's held in a company or virtually, whatever it is. Because it's true, up until now, it's been a meeting, people get together, there's some actions, takeaways, and end of story. But when you look at the meeting as data, then you can do a whole bunch of stuff with that data. And that's really interesting, that perspective that you have in the way you're using it. I think it's really valuable.
Yeah. We also take our meeting notes and we can turn them into proposals. We can turn them into scopes of work. Um, it we use them, like we actively use them. So if you're investing in these AI tools, just really leverage the shit out of them. That's why I would say, like, think of how deeply you can use them. And you don't have, like I said, you don't have to have a ton, but if you have that handful that are in your back pocket, and these are the things you always come with, and you're really good at implementing, and the way that you think that you can bring something to the organization of like, here's a tool and here's all the business use cases across the organization, not just in my department, then you're bringing so much more value to it too. And you can do this as whether you're coming in from a CFO, a CMO, a COO, any of those perspectives, if you're using the tools deeply, you can provide these suggestions and this guidance that will make you really invaluable to the leaders in the company in general.
Yeah, and I find, talking about leveraging the shit out of it, I find that's actually easier said than done because as much as I understand that AI can do, let's say just about anything. There's limits, of
Yeah.
course, but the limits are far. I still have trouble going beyond what I'm traditionally used to thinking of as if I was going to ask colleague that I work with, hey, could you do this? Could you help me with this? Because I kind of
Yeah.
think of AI as that. And I need to constantly remind myself, this is AI, this is not a person. This AI doesn't need a break. It can work overnight. It doesn't stop working. And it can do a whole bunch of other stuff that other person couldn't because the AI is kind of a jack of all trades and pretty good at all of it, whereas that other person had a limited skill set and knowledge base.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I'm still having trouble making that shift to get myself to really leverage AI as much as I should be, because again, I just need to kind of forget that it's not human, or forget that it's human. It's kind of weird. I guess I'm still getting used to it, but I mean it's an exercise,
Well,
but
I
it's
think we should have this conversation in one of the meetups because when you get everybody together from their different departments, they're going to think about how to use AI differently. So my ops person really wants it for project management and to take notes and put them in the project management tool and with the client so they're always attached, right? So she's got a different perspective, and that will expand the depth of the use is if the teams have these conversations together. So we have organized time it's in our IDS, like if you're on EOS, it's in the IDS section where we talk about AI uses every week. Of course we do, and when we're doing consulting with companies and helping them with their AI implementation, we actually have a communication plan that we suggest and a cadence of communication about AI and AI project updates. So everyone in the company is involved and it's not in a silo. Because if you come in as CMO, then it's perceived as like, this, here's your world and this is your silo. But if you can bring this conversation into the cadence of meetings and have it present at every L10, have it present at all of the different types of meetings. And it's just as much like the PM brings it up. And this is where I am on building this workflow out. Then you'll get so many more ideas of how to use it from everybody's perspective. And I think that's what we're good at harvesting from our little team is everyone's perspective and like, oh, I really wish AI could do this for me because that might not be my job every day that I'm doing. And so I'm not even thinking about that use case because I'm not even doing that thing. And so I think in our, like all the fractional get together, I feel like we should do a survey where we put it out there, like, what do you wish AI could do for you? Because then we would have like a whole set of use cases, and thinking about all the things we could build at N8N. Um, and we can have a toolbox for each type of fractional. Um, and if the fractional brings that conversation to the organization, I think you'll look so much more like a rock star to having thought wholly about a business, not just about your little area too.
all right. We're going to throw that on an agenda for a future Fractional Pros Canada virtual meetup. And if you're listening and you have no idea what Fractional Pros Canada is, that is Canada's online community for fractional execs. And if you are one of them and have not joined us yet, you'll find us on Facebook in groups. Just look up Fractional Pros Canada. All right. What are you most excited about that you think or already see is coming on the horizon in the AI world?
I think it's that new business blueprint, the new org chart. And I know it's not a tool, but it's a new way of thinking about your business and putting AI in a seat on the bus, not just in the tech stack, but really have AI as an employee with a job and have those agents with specific tasks. So it might be an assistant for now and not running a whole department, but it also could be your advisory board. I've got a friend who has that, and he does that service, and you can capture, you know, capture a perspective from all your C levels that can review proposals or business plans or new product offerings, and really put AI into the org chart in specific seats. And that's what we have been doing, is like revising our org chart and how we see agencies going forward and marketing departments, and what roles AI completely takes on and how that changes how people work too. And so we have created new job titles, completely different new job titles, because humans are able to do more when they're AI powered. So you might have somebody who's gifted in graphic design and gifted visually, but not really good at verbal. And if you augment that person with the verbal abilities of AI, and they're using AI for visual, then we can have the graphics people also do the copy in all the ads and posts and all of that, as long as they've got that AI verbal assistant to help them make what they need and it has all the right guidelines. So now when we look at all the content production, we don't have to have an ads designer. We don't have to have a social media person. We don't have to have all these separate functions. We have a content czar, and then we have content production people, and they all have AI assistants. And so you can have different skill sets and have a much more flat organization and have it much more contained and easy to manage and way more productive. And so I think it's this mindset that really needs to take hold this year, because the companies that are adjusting, I've got some case studies on this, where a company had a payroll of 1.14 million a year. They rethought how they're working with people, and they were able to less than half what the payroll expenses are. And using, like, thinking about how people are working and also bringing AI into the conversation, sometimes it's as little as a third of the original payroll. Depends on the department, the functions, the tasks. And for us, we don't look at it as you're going to fire everybody, but your ability to scale. If your cost goes down so much and your really good people get brain space, your ability to scale is going to be higher and to perform more, do more. And so people can do 80% of what they love and what their magic is, and 20% of that busy work. Whereas it's usually 80% of the tasks that we don't like to do and 20% of what our magic is. And I want to see the magic amplified and people to be more like really enjoy what they're doing. And AI can bring more of that joy. I was doing a training session, and the people we left off one day. This was in Abu Dhabi. We left off one day, and I was like, okay, we're going to start with spreadsheets tomorrow. And of course, there's groans. They're like, I don't want to do spreadsheets. But then we get into spreadsheets, and then they said, oh, this is actually pretty fun. And I feel like these spreadsheets are really good and professional, and this elevates what I can do. And they didn't want to stop doing spreadsheets, and we were going to do images and video, but they were having such a good time doing a task that would be more mundane typically, but AI took kind of the burden off of it and allowed them to bring their magic to it. So spreadsheets were turned into something more fun to do. And you know me, like, I like to have fun and enjoy what I'm doing, enjoy life. And AI can really bring that to teams too.
Okay, I see the t-shirts, the coffee mugs now. More spreadsheets, please. Wow, that's a great story. Is there a framework? Is there something, a special way for a company, if a business leader is listening, who wants to, like, by now they've pulled up their org chart on their laptop or their phone. They're like, wow, where can I get rid of people? Where can I use AI to complement people who are great at what they do, but they do have some weaknesses? Where can I fill in the gaps? Is that kind of the process to go to, or is there some kind of special fixed framework that you would suggest using to do that kind of high level exercise for starters, at least?
I think it's a really good question. And I would actually throw it back to the workflow and SOP creator, because it also has a racy matrix aspect to it. And you could look at your entire organization, put your org chart in there, and ask it about workflows workflow opportunities to use AI and automation. You can feed it your tech stack. You could do your tech stack, your org chart, and ask it where it sees these efficiencies could be created. But every company, so this is another reason why we need so many AI systems admins and strategists or architects right now, because every organization is different and it costs so little to make it custom. So if you can reduce your payroll costs in half, you can spend that money to build the things that are going to last for longer. So you're going to be building all these agents, these N8N flows, right? And every company is going to have custom workflows. Yes, there are pre-built things out there. You can search for them. But if you start with, here's our organization, this is what we're really good at. I was actually having this conversation in my forum yesterday. Like, where's your magic? What are you really good at? Because there are some things that we're not good at, we don't like to do. And if AI could do a better job, then start with that stuff. For me, it was the spreadsheets. Like, I'm not good at that. I don't like to do it. Well, it takes me like 3 hours to do this annual budget. And now it takes me 20 minutes using AI. And so I'm like less hesitant. I don't procrastinate as much. I can just get it done really quickly, which I love. But everybody's got those things that they don't like to do. And this is what we were talking about in forum is like, what do you not like to do? And where can you leverage more of your magic? And have that conversation with the workflow and SOP creator. Use your org chart, use what an ideal state might be for you, but really like, what are you so good at that AI is not going to replace that? And make sure that when you're having the conversation with this little custom GPT agent, that you tell it like, I still want to do this thing. Like, I want to look over my newsletter. I don't want it to just like auto populate every month and go out the door without me looking at it. That's a place where I'm always going to do it and I don't have to, but I choose to.
By the way, just for those who aren't clear on the terminology, could you give a quick kind of overview of the difference between, let's say, a ChatGPT agent or similar an agent, an automated workflow, and then a full out actual AI agent?
You know what? I put them all in the same bucket. Like, don't worry about what's going on in the back end. What do you want to get done? And we'll figure out the right agent or platform to do it on. Because a custom GPT is a type of agent. It might be dead simple, or it might be a proactive one that does tasks for you. It depends on the instructions that it's given. And an N8N workflow could be dead simple and it's just automations, or Zapier, it's just automations. It's not even an agent, but we can call them all agents for now. And some agents have one job, some agents have 10 jobs that they have to do. And so custom GPT, or in Gemini, they're called gems. I would call those agents as well. Some platforms actually call them agents. And I would say that an agent is AI having certain instructions that it's given to perform without a human. Well, a human might start it, but a human doesn't have to do all of the work. And there's examples where it's like 42 functions that this agent does for QuickBooks, right? But then there's also ones that might have 2 or 3 functions. And so the complexity of what's behind it is different. Like you and I, what we do for work, we might have like 100 steps that we're bringing to something in our thought process, whereas a junior person is going to have 50 things that they're thinking about and bring to the process. And so we can have really robust, thoughtful agents, or we can have really simple ones.
All right. So don't get hung up on the terminology is the message there.
Yeah, it's evolving right now.
Yeah.
I call the chat GPTs, like the custom GPTs, I'll call them agents too, because some of them are quite complex and have robust instructions and go out and do all sorts of things. And I wouldn't want to diminish the value of creating those. And also N8N flows or zaps can be just straight up automations that don't even have to have AI in them, but we'll still call them agents. We'll give them the credit too.
All right. Fair enough. So agents it is, the catch-all.
Yeah.
Any final key message you want to leave with Fractional Pros about the state of AI today?
I will just say it again. Think about how AI fits into your org chart. Think about what a new business structure can look like. And if you run EOS and you're doing seats on the bus, what are the seats that are hardest for you to fill? What are the things you don't like to do? And start with those first and giving those things to AI, and keep doing the things that you're good at and you like to do for now, but give AI that other stuff. And think about it like every single day. Think about, how could AI help me with this? How could it make me better at what I'm good at? Like, you should see the marketing strategies we can do now. There's so much bigger, more robust. We can deliver faster because we know how to use AI well. We can deliver the story brand outputs along with the strategy, along with 3 or 4 campaign ideas and a 12-month implementation calendar, because we know how to use AI. So it's like, how can you deliver more to your clients? How can you do less of what you don't like to do? And every time you're sitting at the computer and you're sitting there procrastinating something you should do, maybe think, can AI do this for me? Maybe an agent
Can AI
can.
procrastinate for me? Is that the question we should be asking ourselves?
It can, you know what? You can even ask it. So I have to do this task. I don't want to. Help me get over the procrastination. And it will chunk it down into really digestible bits so that you only have, like one tiny little piece to do at a time. It will help you with procrastination if you just ask it to.
That's where it goes beyond the limits of what my brain has, is thinking about how AI can help me. I have never even thought of that. Of course, now you say it, it's so obvious that's just a no-brainer. That's brilliant. That's
Yeah,
brilliant.
that's why we have to have a lot of these conversations so we get more ideas and hear like what each other's favorite uses are, because I didn't make that up. I took that from somebody else that I heard it from,
Just paying
and
it
I was like,
forward.
oh, that's brilliant.
Isn't it? Wow, that's great. All
Yeah.
right. What message would you put on a billboard for millions of business owners to see as they drive by it every day on the highway of life?
That's a good question. I mean, if we're staying on topic, I would say, uh, can AI do this for you?
Can AI do this for you? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. That certainly challenges our thinking. That's great. I love it. All right, Nicole, this is great. Best way for people to connect with you.
Best way to connect with me, I am on Facebook and LinkedIn, and Nicole at aismartventures.com. You can email me too. Now that I will welcome all the emails because I have
Thank
an
you. Big time.
organizer. I have AI to help with that.
Awesome. All right, Nicole, thank you again. And I think we're probably going to do this again in about 6 months because, again, everything will have changed. We'll have a whole new conversation.
And we absolutely will, and I look forward to it.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us today. Once again, Nicole, on the Fractional Pros Canada podcast.
Thanks.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Fractional Pros Canada podcast. If you're a fractional professional based in Canada, we'd love to have you join us in the Fractional Pros Canada Facebook group, the home for Canada's fractional community. It's where Canadian fractional executives connect, share insights, and help each other succeed. Until next time, I'm Robert Mendelson, Fractional CMO. May your impact be full-time, even if your hours are fractional.